All right, welcome back to Texas A&M Aggies Live, a part of the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Cameron Honesty, joined by my co-host, as always, Cannon Torres. Texas A&M, as we reviewed on our Sunday show, on our review show, that you guys can always look back and watch on YouTube on our Texas A&M Aggies Live page. Again, Voice of College Football Network. Like and subscribe when you're there. Texas A&M is coming off, obviously, a 49-25 win over LSU. This is one of the biggest wins in program history. First win in Death Valley since 1994. Again, just a crazy game overall. This was one of the worst second quarters we've seen from A&M, which we kind of went into halftime. They were obviously down 18-14, giving up a safety, a touchdown, and a couple touchdowns, and then a field goal. Obviously, do the math there, Cameron. But just not good play after they're really the offense was really shredding them. Obviously, the defense was really destroying Garrett Nussmeier's pocket throughout. But again, mistakes, letting them back in the game. Good teams let bad teams in games a lot. It's kind of annoying when you're having a great season and you're just kind of downplaying to your opponent. It came out half. Don't know what Mike Elko said, but it's probably a lot of yelling and a lot of "you are much better than this."
it was probably monumental, whatever he did say, because that third quarter was quite spectacular, to say the least. I mean, I think what did it for me, and we reacted on Sunday with this, is that Casey Concepcion punt return touchdown. I think really kind of energized this team to the point of just, it's well within our grasp. Let's go and do this.
Yeah, pretty much. When those type of things happen, it just jolts your team completely. And the fact that Cassius Al was just having a monster game, pretty much the entire defensive line, got to include DJ Hicks, who had one of his better games, got a sack. They were collapsing the pocket almost every play. Garrett Nussmeier had no chance. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's dealing with an injury. Again, going to be a good quarterback, I believe. Probably going to go to the NFL next year. That's almost guaranteed now. But just they knew coming into the week, A&M's defensive line has been one of the hottest in the country. It's been one of the best in the SEC. This is a team that kind of had to figure things out early in the season after a couple lapses. Bad starts against UTSA, Utah State. They were a little off. But again, found something late. Really, 2 games have been close with both wins. Obviously, Notre Dame on the road. That was a shootout. That's where really both defenses. That even Notre Dame's defense was still very respectful. Couldn't stop A&M's offense. They couldn't stop Notre Dame's their defense couldn't stop Notre Dame's passing attack and rushing attack. And obviously against Arkansas, which is one of those games you don't throw away, but you look back and think, look, if they contained Taylon Green, this would be a much different game where A&M probably would have walked away with a blowout. It's just when Taylon Green caught fire and was just, playing like NFL All-Pro at that point, just running all over the place, making plays. A&M's defense just kind of gave up at that point and said, look, our offense is going to have to win this game. Mike Elko knew this. I shouldn't say they gave up, but Mike Elko kind of gave up there and was like, look, our offense is moving the ball at will. We're just going to have to win that game. This was a completely different performance because we talked about all season that A&M has to prove that they are a college football playoff team. They have to have those type of dominant performances where if they start out slow, you got to basically turn it around 360-degree style and show that you are going to stomp on your opponent no matter if it's at home or on the road. Marcel Reed, A&M star quarterback, obviously before the game, did that interview with Ryan McGee, I think of the SEC Network, where he said, I love it. I love to play on the road. I love to take, I think it's like take your will or take your happiness, something
pretty
in that.
Much,
yeah. And said it with a straight face. And after the game, when Marcel Reed danced all over LSU's face, he said the same thing. Look, they took a quote. I don't even remember what it was from, where he said it was underwhelming, Death Valley. But I think he was talking about this was a day game. They really took that and spun on it.
He tried to pull what Missouri did last year to A&M at Kyle Field, but he actually was able to back it up this time. Yes. I believe quarterback last year from Missouri, Cook, kind of said that Kyle Field's really not that loud. We saw how that ended up last year, but if you're able to back it up like Marcel Reed did and the Aggies did this week, I definitely think that you have that over a lot right now. And look where LSU is right now. I think that put the nail in the coffin for Brian Kelly.
Yeah, we should get into that. So obviously, again, 49-25, we really went through the quarter by quarter performance. We can talk about, we're going to go into the show later and just kind of grade these position groups out, how they played. A lot of players to talk about outside of Marcel Reed and Cassius Al, and obviously Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver. A lot of guys contributed, a lot of great play overall. But yeah, let's get into that. Obviously, LSU firing Brian Kelly after, is it 3.5 seasons? Was it even a full 4?
Just about 4 seasons.
Almost, I think about 4 seasons. Yeah. And you and I, who have been around the bend a lot with college football. I mean, I never personally covered Brian Kelly, but I've been watching him going back to his Cincinnati days. This is a CEO type of coach. I was actually talking to a family member today about this when they were kind of asking about, why he was fired, what was the specific reasoning. And, a lot of articles out there have done a pretty decent job of explaining, because I think a lot of people, when it comes to firing coaches, they go straight to, well, the record's bad. You just got blown out. That's why you got fired. That's not all the story. So Brian Kelly is what they call a CEO type of coach. And so a CEO type of coach is kind of like a Bill Belichick, I would say. Somebody who has that very calm demeanor, like a CEO of a corporation, a CEO of a corporation's entire job is strategy and looking ahead to figure out potential problems and figure out those solutions ahead of time. That's their entire job. That's why they get paid millions of dollars, kind of like these coaches. But in today's college football landscape, you can't be that type of coach. You have to be like a Mike Elko, who is not just being the CEO, having to navigate the NIL waters, all the transfer portal stuff. Again, went to Penn, so Ivy League education. I'm not surprised he's so good at his job and very smart in terms of the business side of it. But he is extremely hands-on, as we've been covering on this show. I've been covering at Aggies Wire. You've been covering as an outside journalist. Look, this guy is one of the better recruiters because he's always recruiting, always. And the things that came out about Brian Kelly was he was delegating a lot of this. There's story about him being on a beach during the biggest recruiting seasons, during the transfer portal, early parts of the spring and summer when landing players in the transfer portal was so important, and he was nowhere to be found. And again, in college football, you can't do that. You're not going to last doing that kind of stuff. It's a 24/7 job. That's why they get paid the big bucks. That's, people always, there's this whole thing about work-life balance and stuff like that. Well, no, you can have a perfect work-life balance, right, if you choose the right career to do it.
Right.
For my career, for example, it takes up a lot of my life. I have to really work on that work-life balance. But at the same time, I enjoy what I do. It doesn't stress me out. These jobs do bring a lot of stress. They bring a lot of, a lot of attention to detail, things that you just can't miss in certain areas, or you will get canned type of deal. And obviously that has to go into the season. You have to have consistent success. And if you're at a place like LSU, you have to win at least 10 plus games every season, or 9, to vie for a college football playoff spot, or that alma mater, that fan base, all the money makers that are making the decisions, especially AD Scott Woodward, who A&M fans know very well. He doesn't care about the money at this point. If you ain't winning in Baton Rouge, you're gone.
Yeah, it really does feel like that. But I will go a step further. I think LSU has that higher level of standard that Penn State was wanting as well, because they fired a very successful head coach in James Franklin just for not getting it done, right? Yeah. Not being up to their standards as a program. So LSU has that as well. They believe, and I also do believe, that LSU is a top 5 job in the country. You should be able to, and you definitely are able to, with the talent composite you have in the state of Louisiana, to build a nationally relevant program and try and win championships. All 3 of the head coaches before them, whether it was, I believe, Les Miles, Ed Orgeron, and Nick Saban, for that matter, they all won championships by year 4 at LSU. So they have a different level of standard when it comes to winning. And Brian Kelly just wasn't getting it done. What was added on the cherry on top was they were trying to actively overlook that he was not embracing what it meant to be at LSU. And I think that's the big story, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. The cultural. Oh, for sure. Because we've talked about that with a lot of these very proud programs. You even go to like Tennessee, when they had all those issues with head coaches and going back to, what was it, Jeremy Pruitt, that drama with that crap. I mean, that feels like 10 years ago at this point. Maybe it is 10 years ago at this point.
I think it's very, very interesting to see now that the success that head coaches are having are either because it's been a trend. We see these coaches, whether it's going back to their alma maters or places that they know or have been before, that they know the area. They also know the talent base and how the fans are, what it means to embody that school and that program. Mm-hmm. So you see like Clark Lee over at Vanderbilt. Yes, I definitely think that if you were he is a Nashville guy, through and through, Nashville guy in Clark Lee. He knows what it means to be in that area and also the mentality you need to have with a program. And he's building that mentality from the ground up. So even if Clark Lee were to be gone 30 plus years from now, you don't think that someone's going to look back at Vanderbilt if they have a job there and say, I want to have that same mentality that Clark Lee had when he was building this. Or if you look over at Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham, I mean, a guy from the Arizona area, Arizona State grad, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys just have had this success in the past. And I don't think, even though Brian Kelly was successful at the places like Cincinnati and Notre Dame, when you went to LSU, you needed to embrace the culture of what it came to be with LSU, right? So they're coming off of a championship only 2 years prior. You need to be able to embrace all the things that go with it. Right.
Yeah. And it's, it's not surprising. I didn't think they were going to fire him because of financial. Obviously, they owe him over $50 million, which is just unbelievable to say out loud sometimes. I mean, we go back to obviously Jimbo Fisher. That was a mistake. Look, I know people love to throw that number out, but that was a mistake by Texas A&M's former AD, who's now with Ohio State, who just jumped the gun immediately for a coach who really didn't deserve that extension at that time. Because I know a lot of people are now, and I've seen it in message boards and discussions online about, well, A&M's going to have to extend Mike Elko right now, right? They're going to have to get ahead of it. Well, I'm not sure about that. And if they did extend him,
they could.
He already deserves it, because the difference between him and Jimbo Fisher right now is you can tell where this program is going right now through having a roster in year 2 that is already good enough to compete for a national championship. We're not just talking about sneaking into the playoff anymore. We're not, because you talk to any national guy out there who isn't biased against A&M, so don't go to talk to Texas media people, but they are talking the same thing. Is this team good enough to win it all? We were not talking about this before the season, and anybody who was probably made fun of, to be honest with you, because this A&M has not made the playoff in the playoff era. They have not won 9 games since 2020. This is a program that is disappointed a lot, and most of the fan base that keeps showing up year after year after year. Finally, they are being rewarded this season. Mike Elko and this team are not taking this for granted. Every interview I've seen, I got to go back. Marcel Reed did a spot with Kirk Herbstreit and Joey Galloway's podcast the other day, just straight face talking about why he stayed the course at A&M, why he chose to, stick with these new coaches after Jimbo Fisher got fired. The maturity on this team from top to bottom is so impressive to me. I couldn't be prouder to cover them, to be honest with you, because even though I love it and I love seeing their success, it's the way they're doing it, right? This isn't all fun and games for them. They're having fun, right? They had fun beating the crap out of LSU in their house, because again, that fan base and the back and forth nature and the fact that they are one of the fiercest rivals, obviously a permanent rival going forward. It's always fun to beat your rival and beat them down in their own place, right? But
absolutely, it is.
They left this with a business-like focus of going to the bye week this week, rest, recover. Obviously hoping that Le'Veon Moss can get close to coming back. He doesn't need to play in this Missouri game. We've already seen, and he's got enough depth to kind of save him until the end of the season. Possibly, we're thinking maybe Sanford, maybe Texas. I'm not sure yet.
I think so. Yeah. I think it's also it's also nice to see, and maybe I'm just thinking too much, but now that you do have a bye week, not many people are looking at, well, A&M scored 49 and blew out LSU at home, but it's being completely overshadowed that Brian Kelly got fired. So you're not seeing a lot of people. They're talking about the players for sure. They're talking about the individual players, how Marcel Reed has been, how the team has been overall. But I think once a lot of the national media or people are just looking onto the next week, they're not going to see A&M on the schedule this week because they have a bye. So I call it a little bit of a blessed bye. You're kind of blessed with being able to get this area where you are setting up for the next 4 games, one at a time, right?
Yeah.
So you're about to go into a road environment in Missouri where they are very, very proud of the program they've put on for that next week. And we'll talk a lot more about it next week, but you are able to now recuperate, assess, and look at what the film you have so you can better prepare yourself. And all of this attention is on LSU right now. So you get to kind of just distance yourself from all the noise and get ready. I think that when we were talking earlier on kind of why these coaches get paid the amount they do, it's because of, it's not you're projecting like some people are, where it's just here's the money because we expect you to be able to do these things. It's really just what you have done in the past, right? That's why we see all coaches come up. So I think when people say that Mike Elko is going to get a raise or a new contract, it's because they believe in the stuff that he has already done. And I think when we have the end of the season, he is definitely not focused on that right now.
No.
I'm going to put it straight up. And I think that that's where people are getting caught up in it, because you still have all these games left and you really need to just get ready for the next one. And I know Mike Elko shares that, but it's the exact same reason why they paid Jimbo Fisher an extended contract, because, at that point, the Aggies really hadn't had that much of a winning season since back in 2013. So
yeah, I just feel like it was fool's gold. We all kind of fell in the trap because Kellen Mond, for example, was such a reliable, sturdy quarterback that just seemingly never got hurt, and they got very lucky. It goes back to like the Dallas Cowboys. It always does now, right? Dak Prescott, yes, he's been injured a lot, but for the most part, very dependable. Doesn't get hurt a ton. Always, is very good on when pressured. Is that type of reliable quarterback that franchises luck into, and they did luck into him in the draft, right? And so I always think back to that and compare the two, because for A&M, Jimbo Fisher lucked into inheriting Kellen Mond, and Kellen Mond, just being the quarterback he is, developing and getting better and learning that complex system, which whoever hires Jimbo Fisher in the future, good luck. I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, I think they jumped the gun there and felt like, we believe in Fisher. I don't know if the entire fan base really did, but it was also, this was during the 2020 season. We had COVID brain, I'm going to be honest with you. And that kind of distorted things a little bit, thinking that A&M was on the rise because they were recruiting well, but the development wasn't there. The development here is happening.
It is now here.
Yeah, exactly. There's a big, and it's quantifiable. I could write 100 articles about this, about how this is different, even in year 2 with Mike Elko. His demeanor, his intelligence, his understanding of where college football is going, and the fact that we see a guy like Cassius Howe, who I think I looked back at the recruiting rankings, was like 200 something ranked.
There's probably lower than
that. Had a good season at Bowling Green, but again, you're at Bowling Green. That doesn't always translate. The fact that he is now turned into one of the top pass rushers in the country and potentially just got paid a ton of money in the future in the NFL is purely development based and working with a great staff who had a plan in place for him. You look at DJ Hicks, for example, obviously a former 5-star prospect who came into this program, stayed the course again, could have transferred, could have left, could have said, I'm this, and you guys aren't playing me a lot, and blah, 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 blah. Didn't do that, okay? Stayed the course, having his best season yet. He's already helping his NFL future out. So that's where I see these things. Obviously, Marcel Reed, again, the best example. The quarterback who, struggled in some big games last year. Again, didn't have receivers, so that's really hard to judge him by. But has been developing as a passer, was seen as a dual threat, more of a runner. Obviously, in that LSU win last year was, it's remembered more for his running than his passing. But he put the work in this offseason because he believes in Colin Klein. He believes in Mike Elko's vision. He's now one of the better passers and one of the most complete quarterbacks in the country. So when you talk about the difference there it is. And that's why if you gave him an extension right now, I'd be fine with it. I have no problems with it. Obviously, you got to work out the financials, not make it egregious to the point, but I just don't think Mike Elko cares about that at all right now. I think he's focused on not just getting through these 4 games and trying to go undefeated for the first time in I don't know how long. I mean, we'd have to really look back at the history books right now and get a college football playoff berth. Potentially, I think he really wants to be in the SEC championship game for the first time in program history. I think that's one of the main goals as well. And everything's in front of him right now. And recruiting, he's got a lot on his plate. He's not looking at, all these jobs are out there. Maybe I can get a little more money. Because I want to be honest, I don't think he even has time to spend that money. So I remember when he had the off day, he was talking about what he did. I think he's bought his daughter a car. That was probably the biggest purchase he's made. Because that's the only time he has to do that.
That's the only time he has. I mean,
yachts, come on. So it's just, it's just one of those things where I think it's kind of dumb for people to put a lot of focus on that, especially when A&M is 8-0, 5-0 in the SEC, having one of the best seasons yet, and has a legitimate chance. I just did an article today with CBS Sports of, predicting their one loss. Well, yeah, they predicted they lose to Texas. But at the same time, Brad Crawford, who wrote it, said, you know what, though? I'm just saying this because Texas might be desperate. It's on the road. But
it's a rivalry game.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It kind of tilts one direction sometimes.
Yeah.
But if Marcel Reed is playing at this elite level and continues to play like a Heisman candidate, A&M's going to win that game. I just, that's why I kind of look at it. But I get that. But that's the type of seasons that he believes that A&M is going to finish 11-1. Okay?
Yeah, it's just
that's my point, right?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you just got to let what's coming at you come at you and just respond accordingly. So
exactly.
They did that. I mean, can you believe after a win 2 years ago against Mississippi State that they fired Jimbo Fisher, and look where we are now, right? Do you think that they are?
I remember that day very well.
Do you? I know where I was. Do you think that they are at this point, and this is just rhetorical, I'm just asking this, do you think that they feel better off now? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
For all the things that Jimbo did not do, one thing he could do was scout quarterbacks accordingly. I mean, you see that Haynes King, Marcel Reed, and Connor Wigman, all 3 guys that he recruited to A&M, are a combined 23-1.
Yep.
And it's just incredible to me.
Yeah.
So I guess all I'm saying now is now that development is in place, I'm glad to see it's shining for all of them. But speaking of someone who was recruited to A&M, let's get into these gradings if you want to. I think we'll start.
Yeah. We've talked enough about coaching buyouts and stuff like that for a while. So let's focus on the team.
Let's focus on the guy that Jimbo recruited to A&M and he stayed. Mr. Marcel Reed, or the quarterback room in general. So for this segment of the show, Cameron and I, we have our own letter grades for these position groups that we're going to go over. Just the full 8 games of the season so far, kind of what we have seen, the numbers behind them, everything like that. So Cameron, what you got for our QB group so far?
I would say, honestly, I was kind of teasing it was like a B+, but right now it's like an A-. I'm going to be honest, because when you go through all 8 games and you look at how he started versus how he really ended for this bye week, it's all his issues, which were in the passing game, and some of the decision making, even with taking, running the ball when you had an opening. That was a problem during the Auburn game where he had a huge hole where he could have just ran for the first down. I think he hesitated at a point. A lot of double clutching on throws, which we saw against Mississippi State, where he probably just could have hit the guy underneath, or, there were a lot of mesh concepts that were there, a lot of slants that were there. Obviously, when you have Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver wide receiver, you utilize that speed in the middle of the field. He decided to take a couple deep shots. One did work out to Casey Concepcion, just obviously great job by him coming back on the ball. But overall, that's what fans have been looking for. Can you hit the deep ball consistently? Are you going to be a good decision maker in the pocket? Well, I can't wait till we obviously get to the offensive line grades, but that has helped a lot in terms of him going through his progressions, making the best play possible, and obviously being able to move in the pocket, being the dual threat guy he is. And as we saw against LSU, obviously with that 40-plus yard touchdown run, this is one of the hardest players to stop when he gets out of the pocket, makes his first move, and he's gone. I mean, he's virtually unstoppable at that point unless you have a corner or safety trailing him, getting close enough to make the tackle. Obviously, that video of him making Harold Perkins look like a really bad football player was hilarious to watch. But overall, what we wanted to see, we talked about entire offseason, is his passing mechanics improving. And even though there were a couple moments, like I said, against Auburn and Mississippi State, where he could have been a lot better in decision-making, he has basically eliminated those problems in the last two. Obviously, his best game came against Arkansas. It was the most complete passing game he's had. Obviously contributed with his legs again, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns total, 3 through the air. Just the touch on his throws, the 37-yard pass to Ashton Bethel-Roman on the sideline in that game. Actually, both touchdowns to him, the red zone touchdown. He was just in the zone. And when he's in the zone and he's not double clutching, like I said, and he's making good decisions, his release is perfect. His accuracy's gotten a lot better. He's playing like the quarterback some of us expected. Some just wanted a little less because they knew that this team and the offensive weapons were good enough. But we are getting Heisman-like performances from this young man the last 2 weeks. And when you look at the opponents upcoming, Missouri, again, not playing. We're going to talk about this more next week, but they are going to be playing a freshman quarterback in Matt Zollers, who's very good, very, very skilled guy. But if A&M can do what they did against LSU, who is a respectable defense, I don't see them having trouble against Missouri's defense. I just don't. I think they're a good defense, but I think they're kind of a similar defense and even lesser than LSU in a lot of ways. Then you have 2 home games against South Carolina, who has struggled all season. Stanford, that should be an automatic win for them. And then you go on the road where you are going to face a defense that made Marcel Reed look pedestrian last season, but that was a completely different team. And I think if he continues to perform at the level he did against LSU, obviously kind of repeating his performance against Arkansas is going to be a little tougher. That was really one of his best games of the season, maybe will be of his career. But he is a Heisman finalist. He should be top 4 in my opinion right now. Obviously, we have 4 games left, but I'm going to stick with A-. And I honestly think he's one of the brightest stars on this team.
Yeah. I think you hit pretty much all the points that I wanted to cover. I think I'm more of a harsh grader because I have seen the 2 things that I think have ticked him down, at least hurt him, because I do think he's been absolutely electric this season and has taken the strides necessary to become more of that pocket passer that we all wanted to see. We have seen the consistency he's had on those underneath routes, mm-hmm. and for the most part, those middle of the field routes, especially like that Ashton Bethel-Roman amazing catch this past week.
Which was a great throw. I think a lot of people are looking at the catch. It was a fantastic throw. So.
I think that where I need to see just a little bit more, I'm just a harsh grader when it comes to quarterbacks. I think this one, I'm going to get to it, is a B+ for me.
Yeah, that's where I kind of was.
Well, entirely fair, because I need to see those deep ball accuracies hit down the field a little bit more. He needs to put a little bit more touch under it, just so that the receiver can catch up to that ball, right?
Yeah.
And then I think he just needs to be able to be more emphatic with his decision making. It is leading a lot to the interceptions that he has. Not really like any of the tipped ones, but I think at least 5 of his interceptions this season have just been because of mental errors or double checking himself before throwing. So in this, I think that when you are looking at the upcoming slates, there are very many opportunities to take advantage of those deep balls. So I think looking ahead, if he's able to combine all the things that we've already seen from him with improving on those deep passes and those decision-making skills, because we know he can take off with his legs, then the Aggies will be primed to make a run.
No,
So,
I think that's perfect, right? I know. I'm not mentioning the interceptions. One was a tipped interception, so I'm not really going to count that completely against him. One of the reasons that interception in the red zone was frustrating. Also, I'm glad a lot of the fan base, which I've seen, after a couple of days that are kind of looking back at the film and stuff like that, noticed who made the tackle on that, Marcel Reed, because he is going to be that player that when he makes a mistake, he's going to make up for it. That was also a little bit on Colin Klein. Bad play calling at that point. They should have run the ball more. Doesn't really matter now. But either way, completely agree with you. If that deep ball accuracy continues, and he's going to need that when they get to the playoff, knock on wood. I mean,
and for our next group, did you add in the tight ends with your wide receiver group, just a pass catching group?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot. No, I mean, Nate Birch Kirker.
Big Nate?
Slaughter. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, Big Nate. So I don't slaughter his last
name.
If
you wanted to separate the two groups, I have both of the grades for him. I just didn't know if you'd wanted to.
No, I mean, in terms of blocking, I would give them an A. I mean, obviously, they've been one of the better blocking teams in the country. Those guys have really, outside of Amari Niblack, who's not really going to be a guy that you're going to depend on as a blocker. I think he's improved a little bit when asked. But obviously, Nate and Theo Malin-Ostrom have been excellent. They've become actual weapons in the passing game, which that you can only ask so much from those guys. Obviously, Ostrom is more of somebody who you see as a pass catcher and more of a bigger wide receiver. You line up in the seam to against a smaller defender. But he's just improved as a football player overall. We have to go back to obviously the Notre Dame win when he got called on that hold that took away Terry Bussey's kick return. That was really ticky-tacky. But the funny thing is, one of my writers at College Wire kind of asked, he's like, wow, how did that happen? I was like, he's from Sweden. He's still learning the, basics of football. It's very hard. It takes years because a lot of it, even like when I was playing, you start playing at a young age. Usually, unless you go to college, you finish in high school, the game, the basics of the game, right? For the most part. Some people forget. But when you go play in college and then you go play the NFL, you should know if you line up off sides or do something really stupid, kind of like the Cowboys did against the Denver Broncos the other night. It's confusing, right? Because you should know the basic A, B's, and C's of football. And he's really gotten better at all those aspects of the game. Obviously had a couple nice catches against LSU, getting him involved in the offense, getting both those guys. Nate has that fantastic catch, obviously game-winning catch against Notre Dame. Had become a proven commodity already in the passing game and is already an established blocker. I think he's helping his football future right now a lot because he's doing this in the SEC and he's playing a lot more as a complete player. I think in Nebraska, he's purely just a blocker, just in run situations. So overall, I just give him an A. I guarantee you maybe have a better description of what you believe, how they've achieved this season.
Yeah, so the tight ends, I think that with the utilization that they've had this season, obviously we've seen an incredible fourth down catch by Nate Burkhardt in the end zone for Notre Dame. And I think that lives in your head. And I really do think Amari Niblack is kind of in a position group of his own. They call him Jurassic for a reason because he's just this creature out of that Jurassic era. But this tight end group overall, you said it already. I've been very impressed with the blocking skills that they've had, whether it's a brush off block for a pass and then kind of leaking out. We've seen a couple of times from Nate, or whether it's across the field and we see Theo Malin-Ostrom going across, streaking along to the sideline. And then overall, when I look at it, I think that these guys have kind of proven themselves even before the season. We had heard from this coaching staff and a lot of people coming in that these tight ends were kind of just making the team offense overall, just way better than they thought possible. Yeah. And we're seeing it on the field. So I would give it an A- just because I think that sometimes production value also factors in. And I think that in an offense that is, supposed to or has been heralded as utilizing the tight end more, I feel like if they were to use it just a little bit more, maybe a couple targets more at that tight end spot, we kind of see it be like, oh, this is a tight end utilized offense. And I get it. It means that sometimes you do use 2 tight ends, maybe a longer formation, but that's where I see it as of right now.
Yeah, and they've been able to run a lot of gap, which is, when you run gap, you have to have a lot of size, a lot of strength across the O-line, and you have to have your tight ends really blocking their butts off, which they did against LSU. There were a couple of big runs that came out of that, especially kind of opening up those holes for Marshall Reed. Had a lot to do with those tight ends making blocks down the field. So that, but I get your point. At the same time, I think if they didn't have obviously Casey Concepcion or Mario Craver, these tight ends would be even more involved in the passing game. I think if you just have those guys doing everything at some point in the passing game, it makes life easier where kind of like you see in the NFL, tight end's always open. That's always the joke. Well, no, that literally is. Unless you're Rob Gronkowski, the tight end is always open, especially on those underneath throws. And, both these guys are benefiting from the scheme right now. And I think they're just going to get better.
I think there's something to be said where your wide receivers are doing pretty well, and we'll go into those next, where it kind of overshadows that this offense has been used more as a rushing and a tight end kind of offense. But we'll get into those wide receivers right now. I think you and I probably share the same letter grade where this has been kind of an A+ effort from this, at least just from the transfers by themselves. I think that when you also look at the value you've had from guys like Terry Bussey and Ashton Bethel-Roman, whether it's a chain mover kind of game, because we've seen Terry Bussey move the chains multiple times. We saw in that Arkansas game that Ashton Bethel-Roman just kind of improved that he was just another guy to worry about in this offense. 4+ receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown in that game. That sounds pretty good to me, along with 2 guys who are in top 10 receiving yards in the SEC right now, in Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion. And they've just continued to stack these awesome games, and just whoever's eating that game, they just keep finding those ways to improve along this offense and just win these games. Just this last game, Casey Concepcion, we've seen as more of a dynamic wide receiver, but in that punt return game, you don't want to punt to him because he had an exceptional punt return touchdown and one more where he ran it back over 50 yards. So I think just an A+ from this wide receiver group so far. And I'm honestly thinking it could go even further.
Yeah, and it's just the mismatches, and it's the fact that you have to prepare for both guys every game. You can bracket one, that just leaves another guy open. And the fact is that we talked about Ashton Bethel-Roman a lot this offseason. You ask any beat writer or anybody that was on the ground that watched this kid in practice, he was showing out more than almost anybody. Now, granted, we did learn that, and I go back to that infamous video, which just makes me laugh so hard now, of them kind of throwing off the cameras, Marshall Reed kind of throwing those far, and everybody's like, oh my God, the offense is going to be horrible. And they're all freaking out. Oh my God. Credit to Mike Elko. Those guys are geniuses, just kind of throwing off the fan base and not giving anything away. But it's helped Bethel-Roman, Terry Bussey develop this season, which is fantastic for their future, because Bussey is still learning how to be a full-time receiver. He's had his moments. You can tell, he's going to be a very good player for this team one day. But right now, he's more of a wide receiver 4. He's getting in there. He's blocking. He's doing whatever he's asked. He's been excellent in special teams. Obviously, that's where he really stands out right now. But he's going to have a bigger place in this offense, especially if Casey Concepcion ends up going to the NFL next season. You're going to see a wide receiver rotation that most likely is headed by Mario Craver, Ashton Bethel-Roman, Jerome Miles, who's expected to obviously be healed and healthy by then, Terry Bussey, and maybe a player from the transfer portal at this point. So you have sustained success going forward, but you just can't waste what you have this season. That's why, when A&M makes the college football playoff, we know who their matchup is. You can already tell that no matter the defense they face, and there's some good ones out there, right? They're going to be in the playoff. It's going to be so difficult, especially the way Marshall Reed is playing in the pocket, for teams to defend this entire offense, right? Especially if Le'Veon Moss is back and healthy. That backfield is going to be even better. We've been waiting for this for years, right? I can tell you for the 100th time going back to when I started covering A&M in the 22 season, There were high hopes for that year just because of talent alone going into this season. It wasn't about that. And I've seen a lot of people who watched Casey Concepcion destroy LSU the other night, especially from that team in Austin, that fan base. Yeah. Really kind of complaining that why didn't we go after him in the portal? Oh, and and obviously that we're going to flip him next year. I'm like, okay. But either way, there are a lot of people who missed on him, a lot of people who missed on Mario Cribs, the smart people. And I'm not just saying you, I'm saying a lot of people who have been watching both these guys for years knew how good they were going to be, knew how perfect of a fit they were going to be in Colin Klein's offense, because Colin Klein did not get a full arsenal last season to kind of show off his play calls that he did, off and on at Kansas State. Again, lesser talent there even. But right now, I mean, you give him these type of elite route runners with that type of NFL speed, lights out. I mean, it's just that's why A&M is 8-0. I mean, we talk about it, and we're going to go through obviously offensive line and defense next. But when you have these type of ingredients, you're getting the best dish possible every week. And there's going to be some bad taste in between, and the salad might be a little dry, but I mean, the ingredients overall is going to make that dish perfect. And it's only going to get better, because you got to remember, this offense is still working at some kinks every once in a while, especially in the beginning of games. We talked about watching, for example, like the run defense is always a little weaker at the beginning of games. And sometimes the passing game doesn't, find its footing yet. And then finally, when they get a little more confident and maybe they get behind a little bit, that bulldozer comes a running, and it's going to be incredible to watch the rest of the year.
Yeah, speaking of bulldozers, let's get into this running back room, because I almost looked at it as an incomplete grade because of Le'Veon Moss being out. But at the end of the day, I think from what I've seen from mainly Ruben Owens so far, Jamarian Morrow coming in as a true freshman and producing, we've seen the consistency that E.J. Smith and Amari Daniels have had back there, where it's a by committee running back room with Le'Veon Moss out. And I think as of right now, I'm giving them a B+ grade. I mean, I'm looking over the rushing statistics right now from this entire offense. So this is Marcel Reed factoring in, but this team is top 25 in yards per rush with over 5.1 a game. I mean, that is partially due to the running back room, but they rush the ball at a top 35 rate. In rushes per game, almost 40 times a game. We talked about it last year, where we were wanting more of a pass ratio, more than just 40% of the time, and less rushes per game. They're still rushing at about a 56% play capacity, but when I look at what they've done since Le'Veon Moss went out, I think I'm going with that B+, because of the consistency that they've had so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd probably be B+ right now. It's obviously a running back by committee approach, and you can see the skill set of all these guys. Obviously, Jamarian Morrow has really stood out as a guy that can play right now. He's obviously going to be very, very, very good in the future. He's probably going to be a lead back, I would think, in the future, even going into next year. Ruben Owens is still kind of proving that he can take that job once Le'Veon Moss leaves. But and again, this gives all these guys an opportunity to show out and show their specific skill set and how they should be used. Obviously, Morrow, going forward, should be utilized in screens a lot more. I mean, just the quickness. He's got that Devon Achane type of movement. He's kind of a bowling ball as well. It's a little harder to tackle him. And Owens, I think he did lead. I think he was second in rushing behind Marcel Reed against LSU. Had a decent game. Has not had, obviously had his great career game against Mississippi State against a little bit of a lesser defensive line. But at the same time, when you have this type of depth, it's going to help you move forward when your star isn't playing. That's all we really worried about. We just didn't know what this team was going to look like together. Well, this group was going to look like together and how they were going to be utilized. Obviously, having Morrow is just a huge X factor right now for them, because if they didn't have him, they'd really just be relying on Owens, Amari Daniels, and EJ Smith. But again, EJ Smith is somebody who probably should have been utilized a little more in the red zone during that play from Marshall Reed through the interception. But either way, he's playing a lot better. He's a much tougher runner, very physical, which is very impressive because I didn't really see him as a physical back coming in. He's more a finesse guy when he was at Stanford, but he's really developed that physicality that has helped them a lot in those short yardage situations. So overall, again, this is barring until Le'Veon Moss comes back. If we're throwing him in to his start of the season, BB plus, I think in that area, because Moss, before going down, was having a solid year, was on his way to likely matching what he finished with last year. But either way, your offense is already great, even without Moss. Adding him back in is going to make you one of the best offenses in the country.
Exactly. And what adds to being one of the best offenses in the country is an A-plus offensive line.
A+++.
This has been a top 5 offensive line in the country, bar none. I think that if you are looking at, I believe it's the Broyles Award that goes to the offensive line, they are in contention for that. They have been electric on this line in pass pro, in run block, especially in pull blocking. I saw a video the other day of, I believe it was Mark Naboo, just completely snapping the ball, pull blocking along the outside, and completely flattening a
sorry, correction, Joe Moore Award. Sorry, I was
Joe Moore, not Broyles. Sorry, guys.
Assistant coach, which one of our, Colin Klein at this point might get that. So
might get it, but I digress. I think that we have seen this offensive line. Apart from a couple of penalties that we've seen, some of them being ghost ones, I think that this offensive line has just gone above and beyond what we expected this season. We knew it was going to be good. We did not know it was going to be top 5 level. Exactly. We had some inklings, but I cannot be more proud of what they have done because I love a good offensive line. You see how successful teams are in college and in the NFL when they have amazing offensive lines.
Yeah, and I'll keep this short because we do need to kind of run through the defense, but which shouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, I agree with you. We were a little surprised by this because you just never know, because there's a lot of teams that bring back experience. It's a big thing. It's kind of like when you're doing an interview and there's like the experienced guy with a long resume, but the really talented guy who just got his MBA but just hasn't a lot of work experience. You're like, who should I hire? Who do I trust? Right? There's a trust factor there. But that was a combination of veteran talent, and these are all blue chip players for the most part. I think across the O-line, I would say Demetrius Crownover was probably the lowest rated of anybody on this starting O-line. Maybe Armaj Reed Adams, because he was.
I think it was Armaj. He was a lower rated 3-star, but when he went to Kansas.
Yeah. So yeah, that's recruiting. I mean, we're not always right about that, but yeah, but again, everybody has their specific skill set. I think Chase Besantis taking on that dog-like mentality. He's just one of the toughest guys in this team. Obviously, probably the strongest guy in college football right now. I mean, he has Larry Allen type numbers right now in his
maybe not Larry Allen speed, but same.
No. But same in terms of just elite NFL. I mean, beyond NFL strength right now. He was a day one starter, I think, in the NFL based on that alone. But having him play like that, consistency along the O-line, having Trey Zune, who I believe is the best pass blocker in the country per PFF.
Yes,
he is. And we saw that all night against LSU. Nobody could get past him. That left side was completely blocked off. I mean, it was impressive to watch. And Demetrius Crownover is one of the highest rated right tackles. Obviously, Mark Naboo has had a pretty good season overall. They have been, Koli Faeu has played some snaps as well. They've been switching out that position. He's had some penalty issues, but again, this is somebody who's coming off an injury, so you always give him the benefit of the doubt. But still, very good center, very dependable in that way. There's no weaknesses here, and the fact is that. I believe Colin Klein talked about it on Monday. He was talking about, look, the reason we can rotate these guys in all the time is just because we have the bodies. We have the guys to do it, and that's a blessing to have as a football team, because sometimes, there are teams in college right now who are desperate for tackle, like a starting tackle. Like they they can't get through a game without their quarterback getting sacked 2 or 3 times. And the fact that A&M has, like Lamont Rogers as a backup, who was a 5-star prospect in 25 class, who's most likely going to be a starter next season, that's a luxury to have. So their O-line is going to be the reason they win games moving forward, outside of obviously all the offensive reasons we just mentioned. But it all starts in the trenches, and I think that
all does.
That can lead us into defense right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to list, like, having that depth on the offensive line is amazing, but don't count out how many snaps these starting offensive linemen have played. Trey Zune, redshirt senior, Chase Basantis, junior, Mark Naboo, junior, Marjorie Adams, senior, or redshirt senior, Demetrius Crenover, redshirt senior. I mean, these guys have snaps, and that's what's important. So, really could not say more about them.
And credit to Adam Cushing. I mean, he's one of the most underrated hires A&M has had, because I think a lot of people, and I remember when he was hired, they just looked at, he had one bad season as a head coach at Eastern Illinois or something. But I'm like, you're looking at there's some of the best assistant coaches just weren't meant to be head coaches. I'm not saying he's not meant to be a head coach one day, but some of them are just much better as position coaches, and they're excellent. And he's been an excellent recruiter. He's also the run game coordinator, so that's been helping a lot with their rushing attack. So just excellent job by him. I think he could be a Rose Award nominee even as well, just because of how well that unit is playing right now and how together they're playing. So either way, it's been one of the definite strengths all season for A&M.
Speaking of a strength, let's get to this defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what can we say about them that hasn't already been said by
that hasn't been said throughout the last 2 weeks. It's just,
I mean, let's start with the crown jewel of this defensive line, Cassius Howell, manning the front lines. I mean, he got SEC National Defensive Player of the Week, right? I believe that's what he got. And then on the other side, we've seen interchangeable guys like TJ Searcy and Deion Hayes on that other edge just kind of be just super consistent. I mean, every week it feels like I see Deion Hayes get this PFF grade of just way, way above average when it comes to pass rushing. I mean, it's just a pure pass rush. And then all these guys up the middle, where it's just Albert Regis, transfer from Iowa State, Tyler Onyedim, DJ Hicks. We've even seen some Landon Rink in there as well. I think this defensive line has been really, really exceptional. So I think right now, if I'm looking at it from just like a vacuum, if I hadn't seen this defensive line play at all and just look at the stats, I'd say, oh, that's pretty good. But I think the eye test also helps as well. So I think that they definitely could improve a little bit on certain things like rush defense overall, right? Mm-hmm. I think that can just be improved on just a little bit, just tweak a couple of things. But this is a defensive line that I believe sacks the QB over 10.5% of the time.
Yes. It's one of those numbers. I didn't see the latest numbers.
It is absurd. It is top 5 or 6 in the nation in sacks per game. So I believe it could be number 1. Or tied for 1 with Oklahoma still. But this is
with the bye week, it's going to change a little bit until they get back to playing. But
so
I think it's going to be top 5.
I have them graded as an A.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's up there. No A plus because they need to be better at run defense early in games. I think that's just been. I think it's it's like one of those Elko adjustments. They just even LSU's really poor rushing attack was able to find some holes and get a couple of explosive plays, but then in the second half, they basically shut that down immediately. So, and I'm fine with that, to be honest with you. Look, if you're not going to be perfect all game. I'd rather you make the mistakes early and close out at the end. I mean, because if A&M's offense is playing the way they do, the defense is allowed to make some mistakes. I just believe that. I mean, and they really have not been, really poor in any area. It's just the pass rush has been so elite as of late. I mean, over the last 4 or 5 games. I mean, it goes back to the Auburn game where A&M, just because of the flags and because of the poor red zone offense, even though they had over 414 yards of offense, they just weren't getting it done. And Auburn got that interception touchdown. made it a game at the end. And, when they could have run the clock down, Colin Klein decided to make a couple run calls, which were confusing, but it wasn't really confusing at the end because Mike Elko just trusted that defense so much. What did it result in? Dayon Hayes sacking Jackson Arnold for a sack fumble, ending the game. So when that pass rush is on and not having trouble against guys like Taylon Green, who were just breaking contain again, that was just a poor defensive effort overall. I think they've washed that away. And ever since, they've been a terror. Garrett Nussmeier, he's got to be having nightmares right now of Cassius Howell and DJ Hicks run up the middle because all that size, strength, and experience and speed on the outside. Because, like I said on Sunday, Cassius Howell obviously having a fantastic season, 10 sacks, over 30 pressures right now. I think he leads the country, at least the SEC in most of his categories. But Dayon Hayes is even a more pure outside defensive end pass rusher right now because he's got vast experience during his time at Pitt and I guess like 4 games again with Colorado. Dealt with a lot of injury issues, and we've been talking about if he stays healthy, this dude is going to be a very timely, important pressure guy that's going to either get you the ball back when needed, make the sack in the key moment of the game, and he's done that almost every week. And it's just been incredible to watch. But also the young guys, right? We mentioned the defensive line. Obviously, Albert Regis and DJ Hicks have played fantastic all season. They've upped their game. Regis has been one of the best run defenders. He's really stepped up when the team was struggling, kind of set the tone. DJ Hicks is finally playing up to that talent, has already notched a couple sacks, has had a couple, I don't know how many TFLs, but it's probably pretty high right now. And just been stout. You really can't run in those gaps. That's the thing. Like outside, yeah, if you have a pretty good blocking scheme, sure. Like they've had trouble defending those outside runs somewhat. But at the same time, then you go to the linebackers, stopping them on those screens. And we're going to get to that position group pretty quickly. But, it's just been incredible to watch because at the beginning of the year, I was worried about this unit, right? I was like, man, they're not getting a ton of pressure. They're allowing all these chunk runs. It's like, oh, man, maybe they're going to take a backseat of this offense. Well, you get in the SEC play, and there's dominating outside of, obviously, Arkansas. But, look, the score was 49-18. Yeah, the offense had their way, but the defense was just destroying LSU. It was ugly to watch. If you're an LSU fan, I'm not surprised you were making, this face the entire game as you're watching that defense just destroy your quarterback, destroy your game plan, and destroy Brian Kelly's tenure at LSU at the same time. So, not an A+ because the run defense just needs to shore up a little bit, but I've been so impressed, probably more than any position group outside of wide receiver of defensive line.
Tell you what, give us your linebacker one. We'll keep
run through these.
We'll keep it short and sweet with that one because I think you and I have the same letter.
And it gets to the point of Torian York has taken the next step as a linebacker, the instincts of this young man. He's going to be a head coach one day. I fully believe that after his playing days are done. But he's got some NFL ball in front of him. I don't care if they say he's undersized or not. That does not matter at all. The ability to snip out these screens, he knows what they're doing every game. You really can't scheme against this kid. It's incredible. And we've been hearing about that since he came on campus. He's been playing under DJ Durkin and Jimbo Fisher at that time. Was the reason he started as a freshman because he was just better right at that point. And when you put in Damian Radford playing at such a high level in terms of I just said Damian Radford.
Damian Sanford.
Oh man, you can tell I'm tired. Damian Sanford has been playing at a very high level when Scooby Williams, who we can talk about him quickly. Obviously, we knew he was going to be good this season, dealing with a meniscus tear, I believe, last year throughout most of the season, to be honest with you. He dealt with some injury issues, came back strong, had a really strong game against LSU. The size, the coverage ability, obviously the instincts as well, and he's been playing SEC football for a long time, going back to his play at Florida. But Mike Elko, what he's done with this group, obviously working with Jay Bateman, who is an excellent linebacker coach as well. these guys are playing at such a high level. I've been worried about them once this season. I mean, they have really not made any mistakes. I mean, maybe Torin York not plugging the gap against UTSA. It was really the only big mistake he had. It's just incredible. I really can't say anything else, but in coverage, in run stopping, I mean, this group just is on their game. Nothing gets past them, which obviously helps the secondary, which we can quickly and finish off with. So I think that's going to be our most interesting grade of the night.
Yeah, I think I'll give my quick grade on the linebackers as well. I think I do have them at an A, just because I think I give a little bit more credit to the elevation that I've seen, especially even in the limited time that we've seen of Scooby Williams so far, kind of splitting time now with Damian Sanford. We knew what York was going to be going into the season. We knew that his jump was going to be one of the more surefire things that we've seen. But I think from what I've seen so far from Sanford and Williams has been rather exceptional, to say the least. I think you hit all the points on the head in that when you were looking at how this linebacker group has kind of progressed over the season and has performed, you just know what they're going to run as soon as you see those linebackers run to one side of the field or in the backfield. Yeah. So I think that it's exactly right with an A on this one. So,
yeah. So last, the secondary has been, and this includes obviously safety play and cornerback play, has been solid. And one of the reasons it's been solid, I believe, especially in SEC play, has been the defensive line getting so many pressures and really keeping every quarterback in the pocket, having to make split decisions. We saw against LSU that Willie and Des Ricks, who I think Ricks allowed that one very good catch. It was when LSU got a little momentum. That was really the only reception or one of two that he allowed. He's been playing at such a high level. He did get shredded against Florida. That's really his only weak game of the season, but played really well in the second half. Obviously, Willie has struggled to start the season, but has really regained steam. He had an excellent game against LSU, had a couple pass deflections, was really nobody could get past him throughout the entire night. Tyrese Chappelle, outside of allowing a couple of big receptions, has been excellent in the slot. The fact that he's back this season is why Elko can play so much man coverage. They don't have to really switch things up. They can play their set defense because they believe that they have the best coverage unit in the SEC right now, also paired with that defensive line, and that's what's getting the job done, keeping the scoring low, getting those sacks, getting those TFLs. Have not been an interception team, haven't really been a big interception team, even under Jimbo Fisher. It really hasn't changed, but it doesn't really matter, right? I just don't think it matters that much, because if you're getting those sack fumbles, that helps a lot. Interceptions are kind of a pretty stat that, yeah, they can help the game, but sometimes there's a lot of defenses that do notch more interceptions, but it doesn't really change.
Yeah, I
just don't really care about that kind of stuff. I don't grade defense.
I think I look at more opposing like pass yards allowed.
Pass yards, keeping him under 200 or a little over that, which they have done. I think they're
prevention.
Yeah, they've done it. They've done a very good job there. And then, the safety rotation. Marcus Radcliffe, I just saw as one of the highest rated safeties in the country, has been playing. I mean, he's lived up to everything, all the work he's put in, which is excellent to see. Tall, rangy safety, excellent against in-run support, way better in coverage. I think his best play was against Mississippi State when I think Mississippi State was backed up. He read what they were doing, got out of his position to provide some help on the left hash, and kind of prevented what would have possibly been a huge catch and potentially a touchdown if he wasn't over there helping coverage. So very smart. And, the instincts are there. Dalton Brooks has been fantastic, has been just racking up the tackles, just his athleticism, even as a pass rusher, he's been just a violent player, just, has had his, some boneheaded moments as usual, like most players do. But again, great in run support, getting much better in coverage. This is just an excellent duo right now that, if they stay healthy, this secondary is going to continue not just to play at a high level, but they're not going to be a weakness. It's not going to be something where opposing offenses and say, well, we can throw on this team, right? That's never going to be the thing. They have to, for you to score on A&M, you have to hope they're having an off day, And you also have to hope that you can expose them early and that they don't fix those issues late.
Yeah, and those issues late were a lot of what was happening last year. I think in those final stretch of games, they were one of the lesser halves of the country in terms of pass defense. And this year so far, I know we don't have a lot more time left, but this year so far, I think that the trio of those cornerbacks, whether it's been in nickel coverage with Tyreek Chappelle out there, but we've seen just kind of Will Lee stay pat, and Des Bricks has kind of progressed as a pass coverage guy. He's been able to get less handsy and more actively with his hands. There's a difference between the two. I mean, he's able to get his head around more because he's able to beat wide receivers to spot a lot more. And Tyreek Chappelle, we haven't heard a lot from him, but that's because in those nickel coverages, he is effectively shutting down his man.
Yeah.
So I think
that's good if you don't hear.
He's able to give his wide receiver a little bit more cushion, so his grades may not be there all the time, but they also just don't throw that direction. So
he's not giving up explosive plays. Like, that's the thing. He may give up like 7-8 receptions because all they can do is throw in the middle of the field because they don't have a downfield passing game, kind of like LSU just didn't have that. Mm-hmm. So they will rack up receptions, but it doesn't mean anything. He's keeping them at the sticks. He's like, they're not getting chunk yardage. They might get like 5 yards here and there, but it's a position where if you're not getting killed, you're doing a good job. That's all.
Exactly.
Nickel is one of the hardest positions to play in football, especially in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And then just a little bit of love for our safety group. So Dalton Brooks and Marcus Ratcliffe have been really, really good, to say the least. Still waiting to hear back on how healthy Bryce Anderson will be. But in the game,
I didn't mention him for that reason. He's just not playing right now. So
I think we've only really seen a 4-game sample size from him, if at all. 4 games. It was really more like 3.
Yeah, we really can't grade him right now, I don't think so.
But really, really good from what I've seen in run support from Dalton Brooks. I think Marcus Ratcliffe is one of those ball hawking safeties, while Dalton Brooks is able to come downhill. So really like what I've seen from them. But I'm a harsh grader. I do think it's just an A- from me.
Yeah, A- or B+. I would agree with that. I think that they can be better. I think they can be E. I think because of just the talent they have at corner, with having Will Lee on one side and Des Bricks on the other, and obviously having a healthy Chappelle in the middle, you can play better. You can play more lockdown. And it's going to get tougher down the line because you are going to face better quarterbacks. You're going to face faster wide receivers. So they will be dependent on not to give up explosive plays. They haven't been challenged as much late. I mean, LSU, again, was not the best deep passing quarterback. And outside of Taylor Green, who's really making a lot of his money in the middle of the field off of getting outside of the pocket, you can be a lot better there. So they will be challenged down the line, especially in the postseason. But all in all, this is the best you can ask for. And again, one of the contributing reasons why this team remains undefeated. Yeah,
I think we've kind of hit pretty much everything so far. I mean,
the special teams, which kind of hard to grade.
It's hard to grade. It's usually week by week with special teams. So we've talked about a lot tonight. I think I wanted to show a little bit of love for about 30 seconds. One good friend of mine, at least in the area where he's done a lot of scouting before. He's been working with CBS Sports for a while and has kind of released his 1.0 mock draft. He does have Casey Concepcion projected in the first round for him. So this is a good friend, Cooper Patagna over with CBS Sports. He has them projected. He has the Denver Broncos as currently projected to take Casey Concepcion in the first round. And he does have him pretty high. And he kind of listed out perfectly: a physically run after catch receiver with running back instincts. Just overall, could not say more about how excited we are that this wide receiver room is how it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. I knew that national scouts and people maybe who haven't really watching A&M this year were watching this nationally televised game. We're finally seeing, wow, well, now we know why A&M is one of the best teams in the country, because he's got that guy returning punts, catching passes, making something out of nothing almost every play. I mean, I think of that third down where kind of juked his first man and just ran upfield, burst his way through a tackle. Casey Concepcion is an NFL wide receiver. He is an instant weapon for any offense. He's not an X receiver. He can play the Z, he can play the slot. He's just a perfect addition to any future offense. So, so I'm glad he's finally getting that love that he deserves, because just not as talked about. I'm going to be honest, outside of this fan base and this media circle, really not widely talked about. But when you beat LSU the way you do on the national stage, you're gonna get some eyes on you. So, we're gonna end this with some betting. Obviously, A&M is off this week. But
you know who is on this week? You know who is on?
Oh, I know. The Texas Longhorns play the Vanderbilt Commodores.
No, we're not going there.
Oh, no? Okay.
We're going to the World Series, baby. Okay. We're going to the World Series.
Yeah, I stayed up for that game. That was a mistake.
For all my baseball fans that were still up last night, 15 innings. Come on. If you
stayed up till 2 in the morning.
If you projected any of that, let us know in the comments. But as always, our partner for this podcast over at Texas A&M Aggies Live is Underdog Fantasy. So they're running a promo right now where if you just play $5 on the app and use the code VOCFB Aggies, put $5 right into the account, you get $50 instantly in bonus plays to add. So if you guys, like me, are watching the World Series tonight, right after this, and then tomorrow as well, go ahead and make those picks. See if you can get a little bit more cash in your pocket.
Yeah. So participants must be 21 or older. If you have a gambling problem, you can always call 1-800-GAMBLER. So that game was insane. I mean, I'm
crazy.
And I'm rooting for Toronto. I've got a lot of family in Canada. I've got a lot of them who are big Blue Jay fans, and I just hate the Dodgers. So not fun to watch Freddie Freeman, hit off of I think it was Toronto was 10th pitcher or 11. It was
something like that, yeah.
And I'm just sitting there on my couch. I'm like, why did I stay up for this? But love baseball, so there you go. But yeah, it's overall, I will say though, it is an interesting weekend. If you are obviously A&M's off this week, which as somebody who covers them, I'm very happy about that. For just to get a little rest on Saturday and get to enjoy some football. Vanderbilt is playing at DKR, playing the Texas Longhorns for an early 11 a.m. game on ABC. That is going to be worth watching. If Texas loses that game, it's going to be desperate time. They pretty much have to win out at this point. I think they can afford maybe one loss, but they still have to play Georgia after the bye week next week. And then I think they play Arkansas.
This will be an interesting week for a lot of teams on that playoff cusp. It's a playoff elimination week. So if you are still watching a lot of these Power 4 teams right now, keep a watch up because one of these teams could just sneak up on you. Yeah,
Georgia plays Florida. South Carolina is their Ole Miss. That I don't really see that as a big one. Obviously, Oklahoma playing Tennessee. That is a kind of a playoff type of.
Guess who's still alive for the playoff? Nebraska.
Oh, God,
they're still alive. They're still alive.
Still alive for the Penn State job.
Well, they're still alive to play USC this weekend.
Yeah, that's not going to. No, it's the same thing. Kansas State plays. Who do they play?
Tech.
Oh, Texas Tech. Kansas State is playing very well right now. Just blew out Kansas.
They found out that they could pass.
Yeah, exactly. They found out Avery Johnson actually had an arm, and they actually have some receiving talent. So that is another game to watch. There's a lot of good games out there.
Shout out, Jason.
Again, I get to actually watch all of them in full and not have to worry about post-game coverage, which is always nice. But even though we love football and we love to watch every week, it is good for the team. They need a rest. They need to recover, especially Le'Veon Moss, like we said. And I doubt he's going to be listed as questionable going into next week's game with the injury report.
He might
tomorrow, but he might. We could easily see that. So
hey, like I said, it's a blessed bye week. I'm coining that right now. Y'all use it. I'll get a little bit of extra on top if y'all use it. So
yeah, no, it is, and I think all the coaching staff believes that too. It just comes at the perfect time. Because when you play this much SEC football and especially playing consecutive games on the road, that take a lot out of you, especially with travel, getting to go back to College Station, actually resting on Saturday and Sunday, not having to really do anything. That recuperation is so important because this team is going to potentially make history this season, you're going to have to be ready for the onslaught because
agreed.
But I think it just does finish out perfectly for them, getting one more game of the road, 2 consecutive games at home. Obviously, you're going to have, I believe it's going to be senior night against Stanford, or senior day, whatever they want to say. And then obviously facing Texas at the end of the season, because, I mean, right now it's just weird, right? Because last year, Texas was, I believe, undefeated at this time. I think they were kind of in A&M shoes.
No, they had already lost to Georgia.
Georgia, yeah, but they were kind of in a similar. It is funny because they were in a similar situation as A&M, whereas A&M was in kind of a Texas-like situation. It's been flipped. It's kind of incredible. It's kind of a cool narrative because again, this rivalry is just one of the best in sports. I've been forced to kind of look ahead because we are getting closer and closer. But if A&M can take care of business, if Texas can take care of business, this is going to be one of the biggest games in the history of college football in a while, I would say, not just based on rivalry, and this is the first game Texas A&M is back at DKR since I think 2010.
Yep.
Yeah. So 2010, I was 15 years old, I think. 14 years old, a long time ago. But either way, they got a lot of work ahead, and we're going to spend pretty much all of next Tuesday's shows previewing Missouri. They are a very interesting team right now because kind of early look at Matt Zollers, not a bad quarterback, right?
We knew that going when we talked about it. I think you and I may have discussed a little
when Bo got injured, yeah. So.
But Matt Zollers was I believe, high 4-star, low 5-star quarterback coming out of the North American United States. So when Missouri took him, made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and fits their scheme. That's a game that I think a lot of people are going to pick A&M to lose because of the bye week. I can already see that happening. I think they may think, you know what, there's going to be one trip up, right? That's going to get
one's going to pop up. And I think that's
the joke. Yeah, the joke is always that A&M is always on upset alert every week. So, and that's so true.
You got 8 wins. You can always lose 4 in a row.
Yeah, outside of Sanford, they're going to be like, "Yeah, you're on upset alert." I'm like, no, trust me. At the beginning of the season, I was like, South Carolina, that's an upset game, and then I've watched South Carolina play football this season, and I'm kind of like, yeah. So it's going to be very fun. Hopefully, we may get one of the Missouri beat writers on here. That'd be actually great because I think they can get a lot of insight. Because Missouri's been one of those really interesting teams that hasn't played a ton of great teams so far. Obviously, they had that close loss to Alabama in that early game. Alabama's had a couple of those, especially against South Carolina last week, where they're not really living up to that potential yet, but they squeak out a win. That's all that matters, but still a dangerous game.
Absolutely.
But I will tell you, I am so happy that it's 2:30. I mean, God, I was through the moon on Monday. I was like, yes, no more night games outside of Texas, but I will be prepared for that because it's a Friday game. So anyways, as always, you can follow me at Cameron Honesty on X. You can follow Cannon at Torres Cannon. Follow all my work at Aggies Wire. We're doing a lot of bye week stuff, probably some, there's going to be some reflection stuff after at the end of the week. And we have a basketball game next Monday. I think A&M starts the season. So we'll be talking about that as well on Tuesday. That'll be A&M's first game. Very excited about that. Bucky spoke yesterday. A lot of good things to say. I think I'll end this here, let you plug your Patreon. But I think I'm going to be honest, after the news we heard about Buzz Williams today, which is very disappointing, that he was recruiting a player at his time at A&M for Maryland. I just think that culturally, Bucky McMillan, after hearing him speak a handful of times now, perfect fit at A&M. Just a perfect fit, like a glove. So
it's a refreshing fit, that's for sure. And I think people will be majorly warmed up to the idea after a couple of games. That's for sure. So yeah. I got to hear
game, yeah.
I got to hear him, and like as always, guys, definitely come out if you want to have your own opinions like we do of these athletic programs. Come out and see them for yourselves. I think that's probably the best best way, because there's only so much we can do, sit here and talk in front of you if you don't want to experience it for yourself. So
yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing I always tell people is that you can take our opinion for it. Granted, I've been covering sports for a long time, so yeah, maybe I have a different eye for things. You get a little accustomed to that with the details and stuff, and that's, trust me, trust us, we do our job. But if you really want to have that own established opinion, especially with this new basketball program, after watching Buzz Williams for all these years, if you're in the College Station area, if you're close, go to the games, see for yourself. Mm-hmm. We'll do our best to cover it. But at the same time, I think this is the season that you can be really excited. I think it's just going to be a different brand of basketball that A&M is not used to.
Yeah.
I think, you're going to have your ups and downs, obviously, but I think that you get a youthful coach, someone who embraces analytics, someone who embraces offense, somebody who obviously is now proven that they are one of the best recruiters, obviously landing Josh Irving in a recruiting class that is now, even with just 2 players, looks very elite compared to what anything Buzz Williams put together. And so I just think that in every way, they got the right guy, and I think that they're going to build a program that's going to be worth going to every home game and filling out Reed. So
yeah, and if you want to see all the recruiting stuff as well, if you want to follow me over on Patreon at Bell Tower Intel, I do a lot of the coverage for the football and basketball recruiting around A&M. Really would recommend it for y'all, especially as we're coming up onto early signing day here in December. There's going to be a lot of nuggets going out and some stories, maybe even some as soon as this weekend. So I think I'll leave that at that there. So definitely.
And I think the last thing is, we will talk more recruiting. We didn't have time today, but the Brian Kelly firing, there are several names that I would say that could be very interesting to watch for. We'll do updates. Aggies Wire, obviously a lot of the recruiting guys out there do an excellent job, including Cannon. We'll keep an eye on that, but it was very funny to me that guys like Jace Matthews, guys like Lamar Brown, were all in attendance for that game. To watch.
A lot of things come full circle, man.
It does. And to watch A&M just pounce that respected program and they were there for LSU. It's always funny to get in the recruit's mind because those guys are so straightforward. I will say this, that Ishmael Kamara, one of the 4-star offensive tackles in the 27 class, Kaden McCarty, one of the other 4-star edges, they had wrote an article about it last night that was released this morning. Just pointing out just the position groups, how they're performing, how it's impacted their recruiting. I mean, A&M is doing a heck of a job right now, even on the road with recruiting, which is just incredible to me because when you do that, it's going to send a message to the rest of the league that it doesn't matter where we are. You're like, come to Kyle Field for a great experience. But like Marcel Reed said, we love to play on the road. We love to prove that we are a program that is going to take advantage of every game we play, no matter the environment. So it's great to see. But yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday to cover everything Missouri. And as always, guys, gig 'em and fun times ahead here in College Station. And just so weird. I'm going to add that. It is so weird. I'm just not used to this. I'm used to like 3 losses already at this time. So yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Very well. All right. See you guys.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.